Hi everyone. I just wanted to come on here today and share my story and hopefully encourage and lift up someone that's maybe struggling today with something like what I've been through, or you may have other things that you're dealing with in your life, but I just want to bring hope and encouragement to you. Um, this is my very first video. I'm not a professional at all, so bear with me. I just felt the Lord compelling me to share what had happened in my life. I am a Calvary Chapel pastor's wife. I am a mother of five here on earth, 3 in heaven. I have 2 beautiful granddaughters, and I'm a registered nurse, but more than anything, I am a follower and believer of the Lord Jesus Christ. He's my everything, and I'm just doing this video to bring him honor and glory to his name. Just to share a little bit about my journey, I have been suffering for the last 18 years with fibromyalgia, chronic pain, chronic fatigue. I have had several spinal issues. I'd had a fusion in my neck. I had herniated disc, bulging discs, scoliosis. So it's been a long 18-year journey. And I just want to give you hope and encouragement today that the Lord is still in the healing business, and he's still healing even today. So I want to share my journey, and I hope this blesses someone. And I appreciate you watching my video, and I hope that it blesses you today. So I'm going to share now the testimony I gave in my church last Sunday. Thanks for watching. Is this good? Good morning, everyone. I just want to say I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me if I'm just going to do what the Lord gave me. And I just want to thank everybody who prayed for me over this, since we've came here. This has been a struggle for me for at least 18 years, so God is good. So for you to understand the depth of what God has done for me, I need to share a little bit about my past and because God asked me to do something before he healed me. And I want you to understand what that entailed. So to do that, I have to tell you about my past. So before God put Whitney in my life, I was married before. I had been married for 24 years to a man that was full of demons. I was a victim of domestic violence. I suffered physical, mental, emotional abuse by this man who claimed to Christ and would beat me in the background. But so my ex-husband had a lot of demons. He would have things that he would call blackouts. And while he was having these blackouts, he would beat me. And so I'm just going to touch on some of the more dramatic. It was day to day. It was constant oppression, constant demonic oppression. And so these demons would manifest themselves, and they didn't like me. And I would pray, and I'd play worship music all day long just to, you can feel when someone's demonic, and you can feel that presence. Well, one of the times that he claimed a blackout, the kids had made a mess. I had 5 children, and our house was kind of messy because I had a lot of little kids at once. So I was on the floor cleaning up a mess, and he got into some argument with me. He came over top of me, and he grabbed me by the hair of the head, and he beat my head into the floor repeatedly. And so I was in a panic trying to get him off of me, and I hit him in the crotch. And when I did that, he took his fist and punched me in the mouth and bloodied my lip. This is one thing. There were so many. I would work all day getting dinner ready for, all of us, and he would be in an anger. The anger demon would manifest, and he would take the food that I just brought him and grind it into my face. And I have to tell you, that is the most demeaning, demoralizing, humiliating thing a man can do to a woman. So, sorry, I have to go by my notes. I don't want to forget something. So, this was day in and day out. I lived with this oppressiveness over and over, and it took me a long time, but I finally did break free. And I asked the Lord showed me things, and I went on a 3-week fast because I didn't want to I didn't want to end my marriage because I was a believer, but I couldn't take anymore. I was to the point where I was so beat down I couldn't stand it. And I asked the Lord, what do you want me to do? And I went on a fast, so I didn't eat anything for 3 weeks. And I sought the Lord. And he told me, he said, I want you to separate yourself. And that's all he said to me. But it was enough that gave me my freedom. It got me away from this constant abuse. And so when I left, I got out of there, and it didn't stop with just me leaving. He pursued me even after, so much so that I had to get a 5-year protection order because he literally took a hit out on my life. He had hired someone that he knew and bragged about it to my adult daughter that he knew someone that could take me out and it would never be connected to him. So this was what I dealt with. So during all this abuse, this is a time that my body started to flare. I started having uncontrollable pain that I couldn't get on top of. And it started in my hands, worked my way up my arms, and then eventually it went throughout my whole body. And I'd been to many doctors, and nobody could help me. And they labeled it fibromyalgia. You got fibromyalgia. Well, if you've ever had the flu, where you get the body aches and fatigue, and that was my everyday, all day, every day, without stopping. So this has been my life for the last 18 years. And so that's why a lot of you, I don't even know who you are. I've never seen you in my life. I've never met you. But I want to tell you what the Lord did for me. So as I'm going through all this pain, I started, I wound up going to a pain specialist. I got put on pain medicine, and I was on oxycodone. And just to tell you how much, I was on 10 milligrams for the last, 8 years, for 10 milligrams 4 times a day, just to be able to function, just to be able to get out of bed. And this continued, and it continued to spiral downward and not upward. It never got better. It only got worse. And so the pain would increase, and it was building and building. And I continued to try to work, but it got to the point where it was just incredibly too hard to work, and I had to stop working. And it all culminated with, in 2016 in December, I came home from a 14-hour shift working at the hospital, and I woke up and I had the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. My spine had my neck had actually broke. And when I woke up, I couldn't feel, I felt pain shooting all the way to my fingertips. And I couldn't get any relief no matter what I did. And I went and got help, and they said I had herniated discs in my back, bulging discs, and then my neck broke, and my neck was broken in 3 places. And so we went through, Whitney had came into my life before this. This has been a long, long journey. And so I was getting so weak that I couldn't hold my body upright. I didn't even have the strength to get out of bed. If I got out of bed, I only went to the recliner. So I would go from bed to recliner and then try to do something meaningful, something useful. And I couldn't find, quickly depression sets in because you feel like you're worth nothing. And I would fight off all these feelings of depression, and then, even when shortly, we came here, and it was so wonderful, and then I couldn't even come. Like I didn't have the strength to get out of bed to even hold myself up to get ready, because by the time I would just get moving, it was time for him to leave. And so I would feel depressed because I'm like, I feel so isolated and shut off from everybody. And so my relationship with God, I'd had so many people pray for me over the years that I couldn't, and it never happened. It just never happened. And I would get to the point where they would pray for me, and immediately I'd think, okay, well, I hope this time it works. I hope this time God hears me. Because you start to feel like God doesn't hear you. He's not listening, or something's getting in the way of it. So Satan would come in at these moments, and it's even been within the last year. He would say to me, you're really not worth anything. You're not doing anything. You can't work anymore. You're not, you're a nurse in name only. You can't go, you can't help people. You can't even help yourself. And why don't you just take that whole bottle of pills and swallow it, and the pain would be over. You would be done. It would be over. So, but I had to fight these off because, when you're vulnerable and you feel the pain, you're thinking, I just want this to stop. This has been too long. I just need it to stop. And so my relationship with God suffered because I found myself not asking him to heal me anymore because I couldn't take, what if he didn't? I didn't want to destroy my faith. I thought if I ask and he doesn't, it's gonna shatter my faith, and I don't want to take that chance. So I stopped asking. I quit asking. So I'm battling depression, and I'm watching Whitney go off to church every week, and I couldn't move, and I could barely. I was getting to the point before this happened that I couldn't even sleep. There was so much pain. I was awake all night, all day, all night, all day, on and on and on. And that really tears apart your body. And even the little bit of rest I was getting to help, that stopped. So I started to be desperate. So I started looking for things that would encourage me. So I started, like, Whitney's asleep and he's snoring, and I'm up all night, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, how do I build myself up? How do I fight this off? So I felt God drawing me. I felt his presence. And he said, I want you to come into the closet. And I thought, well, come into the closet. Like, why do you want me in the closet? I can barely get off the couch. And I just kept feeling that draw. Like, you need to come in. And I thought, I've heard people talk about going into their prayer closet before. And I thought, what's the big deal? Like, why can't you just pray in your bed or get down on the floor? Why do you have to be in the closet? Well, God showed me why I needed to be in the closet, because I'm a doer. I like to do things. I like to always be busy doing something. I'm not happy just sitting still. So this has been hard for me because this has really put me down, and it's out of my natural, leanings to be a person who does things. So I went and I thought, okay, God, I'll go in the closet. So I went in the closet, and I felt his presence in the closet, and I had to turn off the lights because I was distracted by the clothes. I wanted to fold clothes and not listen to what I was in there for. And I'm like, okay, just turn off the lights. And I felt this overwhelming urge just to be still. Just be still and listen. He has something to say. So stop talking. So I stopped talking, and I just said, the only thing I said in the closet was, Lord, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Because I'd been listening to, like, near-death experiences and things where people were talking about how this lady was healed after 13 or 17 surgeries. She finally got healed. But the Lord had asked some things of her. So I said, Lord, I'll do whatever you want. Just tell me what you want. And he answered me in a way that I wasn't expecting. He said, I've already given you something to do. Why would you ask me for something else when I've already given you something? You haven't even done that yet. And I was taken aback because I was like, wow, it's not what I was expecting. But I knew exactly what he was talking about. He had put on my heart months, about going out, outreach. Just go out to a parking lot, hold up a sign that says free prayer. And literally, I saw a vision that said the word free prayer. And he's like, that's what I want you to do. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And so I told Whitney, I'm like, I want to go out do this. You don't have to, but I'm going to do it. And he's like, I'll absolutely go with you. So I went, and he told me, don't worry about, where you go. I'll bring the people to you.
So I said, okay, I'm going to do this. So, of course, the day that we decide to go do this, I'm in full-blown, pain. I can barely move. I could barely, and it started raining that morning, and I thought, okay, this is probably not the good, but I knew inside it has to be this day. I knew, and I felt it. And so I went, and we went, and the storms cleared. We went, and, my daughter came with us, and it was just my daughter, Whitney, and I, and we put the sign out, and God did. He brought the people there, and we prayed. And as we prayed for them, I literally, I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, I saw a golden light. I can't explain it. It's like when you're looking into the sun, and you feel the warmth, and you see the yellow glow of the sun. But my eyes were closed, and I'm like, why am I seeing this? Like, what is this? It was like a gold warm light. And so I after we were done praying for the people, the one guy, I asked Whitney, I go, did you see something when you prayed? And he said, no, I didn't. And I go, well, I did. This is weird. Okay, so then the next couple of Muslim couple comes up, and we start praying with them, and the exact same thing happens. And I'm looking, going, well, where is this light coming from? Because it was overwhelmingly bright. And I look, and we're under a shade tree. So it's not coming from, and my back is to where the sun was setting. So it wasn't shining. There's no way it was the sun shining in my face. And I knew it was like the Spirit of the Lord was saying, this is what I wanted you to do. And thank you for being obedient. And I felt like, okay, this is it. And so I kept on seeking the Lord, because I'm like, okay, if these people are getting healed, God's no respecter of persons. Why am I not being healed? And so I kept watching. And so the Lord brought me to this video of this lady, and she had got put in the hospital with COVID, and she was in a coma for 2 weeks. And she said she said the last memory she had was we being wheeled down the hospital into wherever they were putting her. And she said my next memory is of being with the Lord. And she said the Lord appeared before me, and he took me to this building. And she said, we're standing outside the building, and she said it was a courtroom. And in the courtroom, she said, well, Lord, I'm not prepared to go to court. I've never been to court. I'm uncomfortable doing this. I don't feel comfortable. He said, oh, she goes, I'm not ready to be judged. And he said, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here. I'm your advocate. I'm here to judge if this sickness has any legal right to be afflicting you. And she said that was a revelation to her that, wow, God advocates for us that if there is something that's attacking us, he has to determine if it has a legal right to be there. So he asked her, do you have any ought against anyone? And she said 2 people flashed in front of her mind. And she said that the Lord said, are you willing to forgive them? And she said, yes, I am. And he said, okay, when we go in, just plead my blood. And she said that happened. And so this got me thinking, I watched this video and I was like, wow, Lord, are you telling me something? Or is this what you're saying to me? And so I'm like, I just thought, I felt the Lord drawing me back again. You need to just be quiet and be still before me. And I was laying in the bed, and I kid you not, this is when it happened. I'm laying in the bed, and Whitney's asleep. It's 5 a.m. on Wednesday, August 3rd. And I put my headphones on to listen, and it was just some instrumental worship music. And I was just being still before the Lord, just thinking, of all the things I'd seen. And I'm thinking, okay, is there anything that could have a legal claim against me? Because there has to be a reason. God's not a respecter of persons. Why am I not being healed? Because this has been going on for 18 years. And so I'm laying there, and the Lord, I heard his voice. He said, my child, look at you. Your body is breaking down under the weight of it all. And he said, I want you to do something for me. And I said, yes, Lord, I'll do whatever you say. He said, this is what he asked me to do, and this is why I told you my past. He said, I want you to give your children permission to forgive their father for all the abuse that he's done to them, to you, because they won't do it. He said they love you and they will not do it because they think they're betraying you. And so he said, what's happening is it's creating a cycle of unforgiveness. And he said, that has to be broken. He said, are you willing? And I thought to myself, all these thoughts start racing through my mind of, oh my gosh, I don't know if I really want to open that can of worms again. Like, this was a terrible time in my life. It was so oppressive. And this man tried to have me killed. And I think, and immediately he speaks to my heart. He said, I'm not asking you to build a relationship. I am asking you, are you willing to set your kids free from this cycle of unforgiveness? And I said, yes, Lord, I'm willing. And he said, you haven't asked me to heal you in a long time. He said, I want you to heal me, or I want you to ask me. So I laid there and I said, I saw his hand extended to me. I could see it. And he said, I want you to give me your pain. And I said, okay, Lord, I give it to you. And I said, will you please heal me? And within like seconds, I could feel what felt like sewing and knitting. I could feel it go up, across, down, and pull. You can feel the tug. If you're a seamstress, you know what it is to pull that thread. And you can feel that I could feel it in my whole body. And he went up my entire spine, like from the middle of my back where it had been herniated and bulging discs. And I felt it, and it was different. It was changed. It was healed. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, I thought, should I wake up Whitney? Or should I just, and I thought, don't move. Because at first I thought, something's happening. I don't know what it is. But at first I thought, is this a muscle spasm? Like, what is this? Because I could physically feel it. And then it was, I thought, well, did something get under my sheet? Like, how is that even possible? And it wasn't. It was the Lord, and he healed me. And it wasn't for until a few days later, like I haven't been able to eat gluten or wheat or milk or anything because of the fibromyalgia. And, a couple of days later after this happened, I just didn't even realize I caught myself reaching in a box of Cheez-Its. And I put it in my mouth, and I would have never done that before because that would have, like, if I would have taken one bite, it would have flared me for at least 3 days. I couldn't have moved. And I thought, okay, well, I've done it. Like, I might as well get a handful. And so I ate a handful. And so I ate it, and I had no pain the next day. And so the Lord has not only healed my back, he healed me of fibromyalgia. And yes. So I just want to encourage you, if you have been afflicted for a long time, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it's been. Because you know what? I'd given up. I just didn't even pray anymore. I'm like, you know what? This is my lot in life, and this is the way it's going to be. And I'm just going to have to deal with it. And the Lord was so gracious. But it definitely was connected to the forgiveness aspect because I thought I had already forgiven him, and I did, but it was not. He didn't say for me to. He just said, set your children free from this because it creates. There's spiritual laws in place, and if you don't forgive, the tormentors will be turned loose on you. And I feel like that is a lot of what I dealt with. Although I did forgive him, it was a journey. It wasn't easy. And so I encourage you, if you're struggling with something, it's not too late. It's never too late. You're still breathing. So that's it.